Hello, welcome to the Route to Success, where we explore the science of hope, resilience, and practical leadership through real stories from people who are building impact in meaningful, lasting ways. Today's guest is Roger Devine, a business leader who found his mission by helping volunteer driven organizations raise the funds they needed to serve their communities. Roger is the co founder of a company that provides fundraising tools designed specifically for schools, PTAs, churches, and other grassroots organizations, groups that are often led by volunteers and too often overlooked by the larger marketplace. What makes Roger's story so compelling is not only the business he built, but the way he built it. He and his team chose here we go, sustainability over hype, long-term impact over short-term gain, and service over ego. In a world that often rewards speed, scale, and constant pressure, Roger offers a different model. He shows us that leadership can be practical, mission-driven, and deeply human. In this conversation, we are going to talk about finding purpose later in your career, building tools that truly serve people, creating a healthy workplace culture without burnout, and why listening may be one of the most underrated leadership skills we have today. Roger, welcome to the Route to Success.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you for the opportunity. Love to
Oh,
talk.
I'm so excited. Yes, no, I'm excited to talk to you. All right. So you just forewarning note, I love to write, love to read, and I also work with nonprofits. So I'm going to have a lot of like insights and follow-up questions here. What your work fascinates me. Your path into this work was not a straight line. You spent years in publishing, technology, and media before finding the mission that really put the wind under your wings. I guess we're quoting Bette Midler today. Great song.
hmm
Can you walk us through that turning point and what made this work feel different?
Yeah, like so many in of people of an age that have worked for a little while, I'm not on Plan A anymore. Plan A is long in the
Mhm.
past. And but everything was helpful to help me get here. I generally started out in my business wanting to uh, help others develop their own voice and their vision. My journey started in the world of book publishing. I see a lot of books behind me. It's kind of a curse that you get when you work in book publishing. You're carrying around a lot of books for the rest of your life. And from there, kind of moved into various new media technologies, which kind of led into the tech world as so many of us made that journey in the 1990s and the early 2000s. And as with many of us who made that journey I made some money, I had some fun. I didn't necessarily satisfy my soul. I worked on things that were interesting, things that you might describe as cool, whizzy, fun, but not necessarily anything that lasted and not necessarily anything that helped make the world a better place. Um, and then, in the mid 2000s, as many of us who were working at that time happened, I had one of those years where you periodically find yourself without a job and you
Mhm.
kind of got to go look around and figure out what the next thing is. And during this time period, this coincided with me being a PTA president and needing to shepherd my kids' PTA through what it is that they were doing. This was not, an unusual role for me. I've been a volunteer much of my life. Something that was inbred in me very, very early on. My mom was significant in the establishment of that in my psyche. Um, but I'm doing this and realizing that we need to raise money. And
Mhm.
around this time, get introduced to a couple of other guys who are working with their wives on their schools fundraising. And we all kind of thought, well, is there a business here? Is this something that we can do? Because if there's a business here, gosh, this would be a business that would feel good.
Right.
you know,
Education,
this is a
kids,
business that would
literacy.
align, yeah, would align our personal lives with what
Right.
we're plowing all of our energy and our time into. And we can see the impact. The impact isn't theoretical. The impact that we were aiming for was there before we had the idea to start the company. We knew what star we were going to kind of aim towards there. And at that time didn't really have anything else going on, so might as well start a company. And you know,
I
and
do.
it
I
turned
do.
and it worked out. It worked out for us, and 20 years later we're still here. So there you go.
I love it. And I was vice president of my daughter's PTA one year that she was in high school. So I love it. Schools never have enough resources. So I love this. Okay. I'm
Well,
babbling.
it's a really odd thing in our country that we don't officially plow more resources
Mhm,
into education than we do. And I think
mhm,
that that is a thing that is felt by most people in the country. And so most people in the country kind of want to try to find a solution for that. Right now,
mhm.
the best solutions are, oftentimes supplementing what happens officially, sadly.
And I can attest to that. About 10 years ago, I ran after school programming and summer day camp for high risk youth. And we worked in partnership, even though we were a standalone nonprofit, we worked in partnership with the schools, saying to the teachers, hey, if you let us know what you're teaching, we'll do supplemental activities. And it worked so beautifully. And that's exactly what needs to happen is that let's go in and let's help the teachers, let's support the teachers.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to get off my soapbox. One of the things that I admire most about your business model is that you intentionally built it to support volunteer driven organizations, especially the smaller ones that are often priced out of good tools. Why was this important to you, and what did you see that others were missing?
First, on the volunteer thing, I alluded to this a minute ago, but early on, I was inculcated in the values of volunteering in our communities. My mom was very civically active, volunteered at the school, in the community. This was something that was natural to me. So I felt some affinity for it. But the real answer to the question is impact. You see the impact, and you see that this is a result of work that you either did or you supported. And that's a self-reinforcing thing. Seeing the impact that you're hoping to make happen in the world just really, fills the tank there. It makes it so much better for us. And it may not be a lot of times when we're working with customers, they've got causes. They may have causes. They may have programs that we're utterly not only unaware of, but maybe they're not our thing. That we wouldn't. It's not the thing we would raise money for, but it's out there, and these people are dedicated to their community and are raising money for their community and for these types of things. And to support a plurality of voices out there, you support a plurality of communities out there. And all of this just, I don't know what to say to answer your question other than to say it's kind of fundamental. It's
It
kind
is.
of, this is what I feel like I kind of have to do, because this is how I can leave the world a little bit better than when I came into it.
Roger, would you mind if I expanded on what you said? Because I think
Please.
I heard what you were saying there. There are so many you work with nonprofits, so forgive me, I'm going to jump into
Sure.
nonprofit language here. You may have to interpret me now. Um, so as a nonprofit person, as a volunteer in the community, there are so many problems that we see and that people are working on, and not every problem is going to speak to us, and that's okay.
Correct.
But what so many people don't understand, and what they fail to see, and what I very clearly heard you say, is every problem that we work towards solving is more than just solving that problem. That's an investment in the community. That's an investment in economic development. And what I've learned over my career is that people don't see the larger impact. When you have, let's say we have a puddle of water and it's still, and we toss in 10 stones and we can see those stones and those are our problems. As we start to throw in smaller and smaller pebbles, what happens is the ripple gets bigger and it gets bigger and it gets bigger. And that's your community impact. That's your economic impact. And when we focus all of our energy on solving these problems and creating that ripple, that wave, it goes to the next community and it goes to the next. And then all of a sudden it goes to your county and then your state. And so when you speak, that's how I visualize what you're doing. So I hope it was okay that I said things that
Oh,
way.
no, you absolutely have quite eloquently, better than I did,
Thank you. Oh,
laid out something key here, which is that um, the way we are wired as humans, I really do believe, is that we
mhm.
can see a limited picture. We can see
Yes.
a certain amount in our community. And the way we are wired to work is to work within our vision there. But the great impact of that is that all of those little impacts add up. All of those little impacts get out there in the marketplace of ideas and help build resilience. They help build
Mhm.
economic strength. They help build, healthy communities.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what you're doing. And what is so cool is you're the tool, the system that makes these grow. So let me
Well,
stop talking so I don't give anything
yeah,
away here, but that's how I'm seeing you. So okay. So just to make this next question very clear, Roger and I met beforehand, and he said something very powerful during that conversation. And that was that resilience is almost built into the work because you get to serve the people who are already raising their hands to solve problems. How was working alongside those kinds of organizations? How has it shaped your own sense of hope and resilience as a leader?
one of the most, I'm going to give you a relatively short answer on this one because we kind of expanded on the last one. Um, One of the most beautiful things that I get to see that many, many others do not get to see, it's a very small number of people, is that I get to take a look at how our customers have grown their fundraisers and thus grown their impact over a time span. If I'm working with a nonprofit organization over 10 years, I've got plenty of 10-year customers, I can go back and I can see that over that time period, what they've been able to accomplish has grown and grown and grown. They're able to deliver more and more of their mission as they raise more funds. And again, I'm not going to take too much credit for this. They're the ones that are doing the work. They're the ones that are out there raising the funds. But the fact that I get to play a small role helping them facilitate that and growing that impact over time, that's the key thing.
Mhm.
That's really it. That
I,
that
yeah,
gives you so much resilience. It helps you get up the next morning.
oh, it does. I get what you're saying so much. I think what you're saying, and it's so true, is you're providing the system. They do the work, but you've got that system. And so many people, I mean, you and I both, if somebody said, like to me, Sarah, I need you to go out and build a fence, I'd be like, okay. And then I just like, well, where do I start? Right. And how many people volunteer for your PTA because I want to give back to the school? Okay, now you need to raise money for a new library. Okay, but where do I start?
Great. Yeah, exactly. And the thing that we realized was out there that we could build a business around this, is talking to well-minded, dedicated, confused people who don't know where to start and
Yeah.
don't know what to do. And all we know about is one thing. All we know about is one little thing in the world, which is how to run one of these sort of fundraising events so that you make money at them and you can do what you do. But we do know that thing really, really well, and we can get out there and it's a mission. It's a beautiful piece of service, I think.
I agree. I agree. Okay, your company
Yes.
built a culture that values sustainability, listening, and long term thinking. I love that. Key skills that are so often missed. In a business world that often pushes speed, constant growth, how have you protected, and how do you protect that culture while you stay true to your values?
You sent this question over to get me prepared to answer this one, and this was the hardest one.
Oh no, I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
it is. And let me give you what I think is absolutely the most honest answer,
Okay.
which is that there is alignment between me and my business partners.
Ah,
This is not something that I would be able to make happen if I did not have that alignment from my business
mhm,
partners. And I don't think it would be the kind of thing that I could change anybody's mind or opinion to mold them into the business partner I would
right.
want them to be in order to have the kind of company we want to do here. I'm not entirely sure that that is possible. Um, I happen to be lucky enough to fall in with a group of people who thought the way that I did about these things, about
Mhm,
sustainability, about being willing to grow slowly, but with a lot of stickiness, be
mhm,
able to grow slowly with a lot of customer satisfaction, so that you can build something really sustainable. Um, and that alignment, I think carries us. It carried us through to every hire we made. It's intentional when we hire people that they understand that this is who we are, that they're not joining a unicorn. You're not
mhm,
coming to work for us because you want to make the kind of money you would make at Google. That's not going to happen.
mhm,
But if you understand the way that we do things, then then we welcome those people in, and they
mhm.
tend to thrive within our business, and they tend to help us keep things on track. Um, I don't, one of the things that you said in the introduction, you said some very flattering things, some very nice things about me. Thank you very much. And one of
You're
them was,
welcome.
was that, it's something about ego, not gratifying
Right.
ego, not glorifying my ego, whatever, which is really kind of a funny thing to say when you're going on to a podcast and you're going to be talking about yourself and your company. But I'll put up with that cognitive dissonance. That's okay. Um, but for the most part, I want to say I don't think that I could have, or that anyone could have imposed a consistent vision like this on the company if it weren't coming up from the ground. It's really hard. Everything out in the culture, everything in the business culture, everything in our society says, no, this is not the way to grow a
Mhm,
business. No, this is not the way to do things. No, you want to be something other than what you are. You want to be much, much richer or much whatever, or whatever.
mhm.
There's a lot of pressure. So this is incredibly hard to do. If it's not really bubbling up from below, I don't have a great, lovely, magical tip to give you. I'm sorry. Maybe somebody else does.
Oh
It's a
no,
good thing
you
you're doing this podcast. Ask the question again. but,
no,
but
Roger, you
yeah,
gave the answer. I heard it. May I say what I heard from you?
you certainly may.
All right, organizational culture starts at the top. And if your leaders don't exhibit the values that they have implemented into the company, and if they don't live that every day, then what trickles down is not
Yeah,
going to be positive. And because you guys took the time to create values, create synergy, agree on your alignment, and because you stayed steady to that plan and you stayed focused on your niche, nothing but positivity trickles down. And so what the answer is you guys live and breathe your organizational culture every day. And you don't listen to the outside voices when it's like, hey, you should do it this way, hey, you should do it that way. It's like you take the constructive criticism, you look at it, or the feedback, whatever you want to call it.
sure.
You guys look at
We're
it,
not
you
blind.
assess it. Is there something here to grow from? Could we make
Yeah,
an improvement? Or is this just hogwash and we're going to keep doing things our way because we know it works for us? It's brilliant. I love the way you guys are running this business because it's absolutely brilliant. And I was just on a podcast. I did 2 episodes on somebody else's podcast about organizational culture and health and the importance and the value of it. And sitting here speaking to you, Roger, that is what you embody and that is what your partners embody. So if I can leave you with one thing today, which we still have 3 more questions, so don't worry, Roger's got lots of wisdom to impart. But if I can leave you with one thing, ideal example of how to create organizational culture, keep it healthy, and keep it moving forward.
Sarah, you may want to repeat that little bit and from, if I'm going to leave you with one thing today, because you froze on my screen.
Oh no. Am I still, did I unfreeze?
You unfroze. So
Oh dear.
you're warm
Now I
now,
have,
but you started out like, if I'm going to leave you with one thing today, and then it kind of froze for a little bit. I want to make sure you got something to edit in there. So
I will edit that. I don't remember what I said. That's terrible.
organizational
Oh.
culture is where we were going.
Yes. Okay. If I leave you with one thing today, Roger's company and his partners are an ideal example of organizational culture. When it starts at the top and when it's the living, breathing embodiment of your leaders, nothing but positivity trickles down.
Thank you. It's a beautiful thing
You're
to hear you
welcome.
say.
You're welcome. All right. Let's talk about you. I've done too much talking in this episode. Um, you also talked about the importance of institutional memory, especially for volunteer led groups where leadership changes often. And for a lot of people, institutional memory is going to be sustainability, succession planning. All three words mean the same thing. Why is preserving that memory so important? And what does it teach us more broadly about leadership and organizational health?
Well, I think in order to answer this, I'm going to go in this one direction. I think most of the things that the organizations that I work with do on a regular basis are not rocket science. They're generally some tested, tried principles for how to work their mission, how to raise money, how to do this, handle their culture, et cetera. They're generally not relying on immense leaps forward in innovation. So what an organization like that is, what it's incumbent upon an organization like that to do is to understand where the variations in their particular community interact with these tried and true principles and how they work or maybe work less or maybe work better within their particular community. This is going to happen a lot by trial and error. It's going to happen with programming. It's going to happen with fundraising. It's going to happen with a lot of things. And one of the things that I think volunteer driven communities are really, really terrible at is preserving results of those kinds of experiments. This is
Yes.
generally because I think it's probably only about 10% of the people in the world that are very good at doing things like that, and you're never guaranteed to have one of them on your PTA board or your church board or what have you. So it is a role that I think it is a place where I think systems and software can come into play. Software can
Mhm.
embody, a lot of those results in a way that it's there. It's not in somebody's brain who might go off on vacation next week or whatever,
Right.
or leave the organization or what have you. Um, and I think that this is one of those pieces where rather than trying to beat up everybody in the organization to necessarily be better at it as humans, let's instead bring in the tools into the organization that help the organization be better at it as a group.
Mhm. I agree. And I will tell you, just quite frankly, I see this with nonprofits of a variety of sizes. This is just human nature, the
Yeah.
lack of preservation.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So I just spoke to somebody earlier today about the importance of listening. So this is what I'm excited to ask this question. One thing that really stood out to me, and this was in our first conversation and this conversation, you emphasize listening to employees, to customers, and to people closest to the work. How has listening shaped your leadership style? And what do leaders miss when they react too quickly instead of taking time to really hear people out?
First thing I'm going to say is that part of the reason that I emphasize this is that I need to be better at it, and I need to remind myself constantly to be better at it. Um, Early on when we started the company, well, actually, let me go back to something, an experience I had as a very young man in the working world that was extraordinarily eye-opening to me. Probably about 10 or 12 years prior to the introduction of the Kindle, the Amazon Kindle.
Mhm.
There were other companies that were trying to make electronic books.
Mhm.
None of them ever worked. It just didn't take off. It wasn't a thing that people were
Right.
ready for yet. The Kindle was the point where it happened. But I worked for one of those companies, and I had to try to convince people to read an electronic book. And one of the things that was amazing to me was realizing in any time I would demonstrate this, how little the person I was demonstrating knew compared to me about what was going to happen in the next 10 minutes, and
Mhm.
I had to, if I were going to educate them to a point where I could get them to buy my product, there was a field of landmines I had to navigate, which was trying to figure out what they knew and didn't know so I could help fill in the gaps.
Mhm.
This is early education as a salesperson, right? You're out there and the person that you're trying to sell to doesn't have all of the knowledge they need in order to make a good decision, but you don't know what they know and what they don't know. And a bad sales guy goes into a situation armed with a list of things they want to talk about. And a good sales guy goes into a situation armed with a list of things they need to learn.
Mhm.
And, I've been a sales guy all my life. So there we go. That was kind of my understanding of that, my basis for that. Then when we started the company and we were bootstrapping it and we didn't have the money to hire a staff, the guys who were the bosses, the guys who were the founders of the company, were also the entire staff of the company. And so we were intimately connected to our customers and what they were needing and what they were doing during that time period. The amount of growth we went through at that point as people and as a company was phenomenal. It was outrageous how much we learned. It was incredibly exciting and incredibly heady, and it was incredibly powerful. Well, fast forward, we get to a point where we can afford to hire a staff, and we've got a staff out there, and now the people at the top are doing more strategy work, and they're less intimately connected to the customers. Why would I give up learning from that vector just because I'm not the one talking to them? I'm going to go ahead and, everybody in my company that we've hired that is connected to individual fundraisers, individual customers, helping them do the things they're doing, they're collecting insane amounts of unbelievably valuable information in every interaction. So the way that I'm going to get to that information, the way that I'm going to benefit from it, the way I'm going to let that impact our strategy and things going forward is by listening,
Right.
is by asking and by listening and being aware and going out and seeking that from the people inside my company who are doing that job. That said, you bring up another extremely relevant point, which is that you have to balance being a good listener
Mhm.
against the possibility of being too reactive.
Mhm.
And again, this is where I think the key skill for me is ego suppression. If I can remember that I am not omnipotent, if I can remember that I am not, if I can remember that I don't know everything, if I can
Right.
remember that I need to be humble about all of this, then we can all grow because I can ask and I can listen and I don't have to react in the moment. You know, um, it's
I
hard to do
do.
though. It's hard to do
Oh
though
my
because I
gosh.
am brilliant. So it's like
I know you are.
yeah,
Yes, yes. So, Roger, I love how honest and human you are when you said, I talk about listening all the time because I need that reminder. I do very similar things. I'm going to share a funny thing I learned here with you that I think you'll appreciate, and hopefully the audience will too. 10 years ago, when I was running after school programming and summer day camp, I learned very quickly nothing upsets people like something with their children. You can lose all their money, you can crash their car. It's when there's something to do with their children. And I mean, I was very proud of myself. In 4 years, we never lost a kid, never had a broken bone. things were great, right? It was always just a misunderstanding. But when I would have an angry parent yelling at me, the way that I would keep myself from reacting is I would say to my head over and over again, this is not on fire. Or wait, I would say, nothing is cut off, nothing is on fire. I don't need to respond right now. And so I still to this day will say that to myself in my head. And that's my trigger where I say, okay, I just need to listen. I need to take it all in. And then if you were frustrated, whatever with me, I'd say, Roger, thank you for sharing with me. May I ask you some clarifying questions? And then I would say, okay, Roger, would you give me until tomorrow at this time to process and come back with an answer? And by teaching myself to do that, I learned how not to react because very rarely do you ever need to react to anything in life. So next time when you're in a meeting, you can say to yourself, is it cut off or on fire? No, I'm good. I can wait a minute.
I
Hopefully it
can
will
wait a
make
minute.
you laugh.
Exactly. Is anything cut off? Is it anything on fire? Love it.
Right.
Two
Yeah.
great questions. Am
Yeah.
I falling from a great height? Maybe.
Right.
Well, except there would be nothing you could do then. So,
Oh, I mean, make sure
all
there's
right.
a pillow to land on, right?
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, big question of the day. I'm going to push you. I always save the hardest for last. I probably shouldn't do
Yeah,
that.
you did.
For leaders who want to build a healthier, more mission driven organization, what are a few simple, practical shifts they can make right now to create more trust, more sustainability, and a culture where people truly thrive?
Part of the reason why this is the most difficult question is because I th- I want to push back on you a little bit. I think this is kind of
Okay.
a B. I kind of think this is kind of a BS question.
Okay.
You know, um, a few simple practical shifts. I mean, come on. If you want to build a more sustainable, more mission-driven organization, most of us know how to be decent people. Most of
Mhm.
us know how to listen to others. Most of us know how to take a moment. Most of us know how to know of these things. We're just not doing them. I don't think that there's any tips I need to lay out on the table other than do the things you know you're supposed to be doing. Do the things that you know are right. Get out there and do the things that you think are sustainable. Are you going to always know what the right thing to do is? No. This is why it's important to have strong values to help you at least have an organizing principle for how you're going to make decisions. But I don't want to lay a pithy phrase or two on the table because I think those are far too easy to try once and then dismiss. I
Right.
think we all know what we need to do. What we need to do is commit to doing it.
Dare I say, create routines and habits?
Works for me.
Roger, thank you for pushing back. Do we do believe in all the episodes I have filmed, you were the first person to ever push back on me?
Well, how about
And
that?
I
I'm full of
appreciate
surprises.
that. I appreciate that. So, Roger, thank you for such a thoughtful conversation. And let me ask you really quickly. All the people that are listening out here are going to be involved with some kind of volunteer-led organization some way. What is the best way to get in touch with you? Because I'm not ashamed to ask for business for you. So let me put this out there.
Oh
Roger
yeah.
didn't know I was going to ask this question. I'm not afraid to ask it. What is the best way to get in contact with you?
So you can send me an email, Roger, Roger, at schoolauction.net. That's the name of my company, by the way, schoolauction.net. And we provide software that helps organizations, the kinds we've been talking about today, plan, manage, and
Mhm.
run fundraising events. If you've got any of those that are out there, need them to help keep you alive, give us a call. Go to the website, schoolauction.net. Send me an email. We're out there.
Roger, thank you so much. Thank you also for being such a great guest. You were
Thank you.
absolutely been incredible. And thank you for challenging me. I hope more guests challenge me the way that you did, because that's where we get these great conversations.
Indeed. Thank you for being
All
such
right.
a good sport on that and
Oh, of
for the
course.
opportunity today. This has been great.
Yeah. All right, Roger. Well, have a wonderful day and we'll
You
talk
too,
very
Sarah.
soon. All right.
Thank you very
Bye.
much. Bye.